conclude tonight in verses 5 and 6. And I love what David does here. I love what David does here. It reads as follows. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. King James says, runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The context that David is writing is a context where if you are a host, you roll out the red carpet for any guest you have. And this is one thing I love about the African American tradition and the African American culture. I never understood why my grandmother had plastic over all the furniture in the living room. I just never understood. I never understood why there was a piano in the room and nobody played, but it was there. I never understood why there was a floor TV, a big floor TV that was part of furniture, and on the side of it was big speakers, and if you opened the lid, there was this turntable in it. I just never understood any of that. I never understood why, even though nobody walked in that room, that every Saturday morning, when the sun came up, she would grab that vacuum cleaner and she would start singing her hymns as she cleaned that. I never understood why she would get that duster and she would just circle the corner. She would hit all the corners of the room and dust all the furniture and dust everything, even get up on the ceilings and just dust it and toss that room, as she would say. I'm tossing the room. I never understood it. And we would just look over the corner and she would just be in a joyous mood. Because her understanding is like David. That anytime you have the opportunity to host, you should be prepared. That we were family. We were family, so we didn't get to sit in the living room. But anytime somebody came from out of town, go get all the good stuff. Get the china out the cabinet. Go get the utensils that sparkle when you use it, right? Go run out there and get this and go bring it back from her. And she would bring the person in the home and she would turn to that room and she would just go just like this. Come on in. With a joyous smile on her face. Because she understood. And I understand now. But she understood that everything in that room was not only paid for, but prayed over. And as she cleaned on Saturday morning, I didn't understand this then. As she cleaned, and she was opening her mouth and doing all kinds of things would come out of her mouth, I couldn't hear what she was saying because she was just lipping it. She was praying over that room. And I never realized what a blessing it was to be a guest at my grandmother's home. Because when you came in, you sat down, you sat on the blessing. Because she had prayed over the seat. She prayed over the couch. She prayed over the carpet that your feet, plush carpet that your feet walked over smooth. She prayed over everything. And David says here, you prepare a table before me. That God has allowed blessings to be at the table that he's inviting us to. That if we should follow his lead and sit at the table when he asks us to sit, that there are blessings for us. But not only that, he says, I love this, in the presence of my enemies. I mean, how many times have we asked God to remove us from situations? And you've heard me say this before. When you think about the ecology of the atmosphere and how God orchestrates things, that the rainbow only comes after the storm. That the rainbow. And so if you ask God to remove the storm from your life, you miss the rainbow. And so the prayer has to be, Lord, allow me to have the strength and the perseverance to get through it. That's what we learned last week. Even though I walk through the valley, right? If you ask God to remove the valley, then he has to remove the table with it.
Well, say that.
It's in here, it's in here, it's in here. It's in here. Because when you set the table, what happens? You anoint my head with oil. When you sit at God's table, God anoints you. Not only with gifts and skills and talents, but he anoints you with daily bread. What an anointing. Wake up in the morning. We miss that. We get up in the morning, we hop in the shower, we get our clothes on, get a quick breakfast, and get in our cars and rush on work. As if work is the main thing of the day. But God wakes us up in the morning. That's the main thing. That God blesses us, anoints us with a fresh day. A brand new 24, as it were, to get things going. But this anointing, I have to stay here for a second. Because in the tradition here, when you are a guest, the guest sits at the table and the host brings oil and it anoints the guest. Almost like if you were, I don't know if you've ever visited someone at the hospital and they are declining rapidly and they have lost motion in their body or they have a momentary paralysis or paralysis. And they're not able to move their hands or move their arms. And sometimes their skin gets a little dry. And sometimes it gets clammy. And sometimes if you're a close friend or a personal friend, they may ask you to get that lotion. Could you just rub my hands? And can you just, right? That's the love that God has for us. I got to go back to the grandmother here because grandma, she would not allow you to walk outside with ashy knees. I mean, there's something there because she, depending on how small you were, you know, come on, grandma, baby, come here. And she go get that Vaseline, that thick old Vaseline, right? And she go in there just like this, and scoop it on, and just rub, and she get the back too. She get the back. But the reality is that love will cover you. Love will cover you. Now, if your orders are sitting back, you get back in there and you get them as you need. Right? But it's the same scenario when you are the guest at the table of the host. That blessing, that anointing, the pouring it all over your head and anointing you with God's great blessing. But that's not only it. It says, my cup overflows. It means you can't get enough of God's blessings when you sit at God's table. What does it mean to sit at God's table? It means to follow God's direction and guidance. It means to follow in the direction that God is leading you. We talked about the other day that life is never linear. Life is never linear. You always go through obstacles, and sometimes you have to make a 360 in order to move forward. Life is never linear. But God gives you your own yellow brick road. So as you skip through life and as you move through life, God will say, okay, for this season